So, okay,
I,
listen. I want to break this down again. So, if a woman knows that a man does not want to have a child, but she wants a child, right? To me, if she has this information that says that he does not want to have a child, right? To me, even though he is ignorant and dumb to sleep with this woman when he doesn't want to have a child, right? I agree. That's dumb. But also, it is somewhat criminal that she is willing to sit here and have a child with a guy who clearly says he does not want to have a child. When you talk about morality and righteousness, right? There's a scripture that comes to mind, right? It says, when somebody asks for a fish, are you going to give them a snake? Okay? In reality, what that saying is why are you trying to give something to somebody that they're not asking for? They're not asking, this person is asking for a child. This person is not. And you're willing to give something to this person knowing that that's not what they want, right? And you both engage in this thing, the consequences be as they may. So I don't have an issue with separating each individual person's case. She is having sex with a man that don't want a child with her. He's having sex with a woman raw when he claimed he don't want to have a child. Even though he don't want to have a child, he is engaging in a process that creates a child with a woman he don't want to have a child with. So that's dumb on
it's
his part.
mutual repercussions from it, and I think
Yes,
Yeah,
that's the
that's
part
that's
that
dumb on his part.
say both of them are going to deal with the consequences of that. The
right.
problem, the issue that I think we're having is the fact that is a level of trying to, like how y'all, it is amazing how the accountability changes when the scenario changes, even though the scenario is very similar, because we're looking at the underlying message of what we're saying is
Well,
honesty and being righteous, right? So in both of those scenarios, people were honest, but they weren't being righteous in both scenarios. In this situation, with the woman is being honest and clearly saying, I want to have your baby, I want to have a child. And you're saying, as a dude, no, I don't want to have any children. At that point, both party interests are clear. So now you're asking people to act in a righteous state after we've gotten the honesty out the way. The bottom line, though, is that both of them are going to end up with consequences. So in that first scenario, she's going to end up with the consequence of just getting her back blown out and not getting the relationship that she wanted because she still made the decision to move forward. In this situation, he's going to end up in a situation where he's going to have a baby because he still moved forward even though he was given the information. Now the
and he's gonna
consequence,
have a bastard child. That
the
so
that's what I
my
was going to say. The consequence to both of them is this: she may end up being a single parent, doing everything 100% on her own because he clearly told her, I did not want a child. You had a child. That does not mean I'm going to be a father. Right.
right,
So she's
right.
taking the risks
He
with
never
that.
said that though. Let's just be clear. Go
Right.
ahead.
That's the consequence of hers moving
I mean, but
forward with
that's the only
getting
thing
what she
that we can
wants.
assume though.
Then on the
Uh,
flip side, his consequence can be, okay, that's fine, but I'm going to take you to court for child support. Both of them are going to end up with consequences that neither probably wanted. She wanted the child, but wasn't thinking long term. She may have thought if I have his child, it's going to force him to be responsible and is not.
I
oh,
think what shaped my
so
viewpoint on this is jumping off the porch. When I jumped off the porch, I understood one thing. When I'm interacting and engaging in activities that could land me in jail, whatever happens from this point forward is on me. So that's
right,
kind of how I view all of these scenarios. I know the
right,
consequence. I still chose to do this, knowing the consequence. Whatever happens, if it doesn't go, when everybody that rob a bank, nobody wants to go to jail. But the consequence of that, if you get caught, is going to jail. You roll the snake
exactly,
eyes. Like, so when I
exactly,
think about this stuff, I think about it from that perspective. whatever consequence come down, you can't complain about it because that's how you turn into a snitch. Because you don't want to accept your consequences and you trying to push them off on somebody else, but you can't.
Right.
You gotta
And
own
that,
that.
and,
Like,
again,
I gotta sit down.
and again, that's why I kept saying that I feel like it's on both sides, but I still feel that it's kind of a different scenarios. In the first scenario, you got two people. The only way that they would actually have sex is if they both consented to it, right? In the second scenario, you have a man, a woman, one wants a baby, one doesn't. They engage. In my opinion, is still on both parties because, as we stated, you're going to have one person that's going to now have a baby that she's probably going to have to take care of on her own, and then you have a guy that's not going to essentially be there. And then the drastic of a chick saying, "Hey, I got HIV," and and the guy saying, "Oh, I don't want that, but I still engage in sex with her," then that's a completely different like scenario to me in my brain because yes, everybody is accountable in it, but there's in the last scenario, there's no real accountability necessarily for the chick because she said this is what it is, and if you want to engage into it still, then you're gonna have to pay the consequences of it. So I think that is different.
So would you liken the consequences? So we'll take the baby, that example out of it. Let's take that example, right? What is the true consequence in the first scenario, other than the consequence to the woman is the fact that she didn't get the relationship, right? So she ended up with the consequence of her engaging in sex, knowing that she wasn't getting what she wanted, right? So in that situation, the only consequence fell on her, right? The dude got what he wanted, which he made it clear. Only thing I want from you is sex.
The consequence falls on both of them because if
what's the consequence for him?
So the consequence for him, in any man that has engaged into this, if you go in and have sex with a chick that wants to be in a relationship with you, and you fuck her anyway, then 9 out of 10, you're going to now have to deal with a very angry and spiteful woman, and whatever consequences come with that, you just gonna have to deal with it. She might, just let you
right now. You're being very hypothetical now.
That's not being hypothetical. That's being real.
But there are some chicks who want the relationship, got dick down, didn't get the relationship, and was like, damn. And they had to deal with the consequences because it didn't work out the way that they wanted, and they move on. So that's hypothetical. In this situation, if we look strictly at the facts as they are, the girl communicated she wanted the relationship. The guy communicated he just wanted sex. He gave her the choice because he was honest. I only want sex, and that's it. She still takes a chance and have sex with him. The consequence falls on because he was clear about, I don't want the relationship, and he acted on that. I still don't want the relationship. So she suffers the consequence of that. Now, when we move into the age,
stay on that example. No, stay on that example because you got to add one context. If she was extremely mad about it and saying mad about the consequence of her not getting a relationship, you know what the result would be? Her saying, you know what, you took this from me. You took this sex from me. Now this becomes great. If we want to play the shrug off a consequences thing, so it's dangerous to play with it like that.
That's what I'm saying.
It could be, but what I'm saying is just stay in the facts as they listen. I'm just saying stay in the facts as they are, because right now we're moving into hypotheticals. Just stay in the facts as they are. He said, I just want to smash. She said, I want a relationship. He smashed. She didn't get the relationship. That was the consequence. In this situation, she said, I have HIV. He said, I don't want HIV. He smashes, no condom, gets HIV. That's his consequence. So in both scenarios, just looking at the facts as they are, not hypotheticals, only one party suffered the consequence. The female suffered the consequence in the first scenario because she didn't get the relationship. He suffered the consequence of catching HIV because he didn't wear a condom.
Right.
And he chose to smash raw. So it's the same situation, is what I'm saying. The underlying issue is exactly the same. The behaviors are different, the scenarios are a little different, but the theme of the situation is exactly the same.